What is up, guys? So 3 of them back to back, although I haven't finished the other 2. The Lakota and the Sportsman build, we're still waiting on parts. This one here today, I'm pretty confident we're good to go. Should have everything we need. We're trying to keep this budget friendly. Trying not to drop a bunch of money into it. I only paid $100 for this thing. I did already test fire it, make sure it actually would start. Make sure it wasn't just parts bike material. I went by Walmart a few minutes ago. I grabbed a battery and some 2-stroke oil because these old Sport 400s are 2-stroke, and this is a 2-wheel drive Sport 400, which is kind of a bummer. It's got cheap stuff, just enough. I mean, it doesn't burn that much. That should be enough for even all the riding I might do on it. This it's probably gonna need the carb cleaned. I definitely need a battery. We're gonna try to fire it up without doing the carb clean and see what happens. Definitely some tires. I bought this over here for 50 bucks just for these rear tires. Very, very meaty rear tire. The only thing I didn't quite think about is if I could find another 24-inch tire in my gigantic stack of tires over here that just keep piling up. Now, being a 2-wheel drive, I can probably get away with running a 24 on the rear, 25 on the front, and I'm pretty confident that I got some 25s. Yeah, some very nice 25s that will fit on some 12-inch Polaris wheels, which I had already set to the side from another Polaris we parted out a few days ago. These came from a newer model Sportsman. The tires on them are, they're too far dry rotted. They got plenty of life, but they're dry rotted. You know. Let's get it, see if some gas will fire it up. Put some gas in it, and it looks like there's some sort of shavings in there. I don't know how that would have got in. I hope there's not a hole in the tank that a rat chewed through. There's like a couple 10mm bolts. I say 10. So used to metric. This is a 1/2 inch. Holding this in. If you just have metric though, 13mm works as well. I couldn't find my 13mm bolts or 13mm sockets or anything. We're just gonna send it. Yeah. It's like paper. I will use channel locks or something to break the seal. Be able to pull the fuel hose off. All right, hose on there. This gets routed back up. This is the vent tube fuel. The gas tank. Put that up there for right now. That is back on there. That is spring loaded from the factory, so you kind of pull on it and get to the actual petcock piece. The fuel line off the carb end. Just gonna twist it, break that seal, because these, after sitting a while, they'll get a little stuck. There we go. It's tough to break that seal sometimes. And measure this out. Way there. I need to order some fuel hose. Ain't enough hose in this shop, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all think that's funny, because I think it's funny. Put these back up. Basically, we don't have to stress the putting this back together, because with where the carb is, you do not have to pull the tank to get to the carburetor. I feel like this is taking forever. I'm just gonna put gas in it and see if it fire up. I have to pull the dang tank. Probably, I don't have a lot of confidence that the carb won't need rebuilt. But, wishful thinking, eh? Put the gas in the tank. Oh shit. All right, so the battery's on. I'm not sure how the carb thing's gonna work out, if I might have to rebuild it or not. Because as you can see, the fuel is now in the air box. Now it may clear itself up once we start it up, but it may not, and we'll have to tear it apart, clean the carburetor out on it. So let's see. Not gonna lie, that sounds stressed. That's bad. I would be willing to bet the Bendix itself just took a dump. So, I don't know. Let's see, what should we do next? Probably rebuild this carburetor. Just no big deal. Pull the air box, pull the carb. Usually pretty quick on these. And then, oh, we got no brakes. Just like that, no brakes. Damn. I'm starting to debate if this one's even worthwhile. I really do not want a money pit. I bet I flooded it trying to start it. But generally that Bendix is pretty easy to get to. And I can almost guarantee you I've got one. And you just pop that stator cover right there off. You might have to pull the flywheel to get that out. I can't quite remember. Got the carb back on. We're gonna try to fire this thing up again by the good old recoil. I put a little bit of oil in there and spray some starter fluid on it, just a carb cleaner. Just kind of dilute it so it'll suck it in there. This thing's been sitting, so it may take a second for the oiler to pump it up. I don't want to go through all the effort of bypassing it. Not everybody wants bypassed, you know. These two strokes make it easy. Let's see if it'll start. Not with that. Turn the gas on. All right, I think the plug's probably foul. We need to figure that out, get that opened up. So, after flooding it out the other day, let's see if she'll start up now. Oh. What happened? That's a lot of smoke. Does not want to idle. Need some carb adjustments, but I do want to take it for a spin. Big downside is these tires are trash. So I'm gonna utilize these rear wheels with tires that I bought this parts bike just for this. And I believe, yeah, that is a 4x100. These Polaris has had a real weird bolt pattern in the rear, but the wheels don't match. Well, that sucks. That's all right. This bike's going to auction. That's cheap, right? And then, so the front, we're gonna have to find some tires for the front. I need to take this over to the tire shop and get that one plugged. 10s or 12s. Because that is a 4x156 on the front. So we could find some 12s or some 10s. 12-inch bear claws. Dang, that would be a whole set for this. I can't remember what I pulled those from, but that looks like a 4x100 bolt pattern. It's definitely Polaris wheel. That is 4x100. I guess somebody had these. Those are going to be too big. I could put these on the front. These are 25s. And those would be 23s on the rear. But I actually have a matching set of these in 10s. I don't want to spend all of that money swapping that many tires over. Because I got a full set over there too. I think these bear claws are looking more and more promising. I guess, no, I don't want to do those. Those are 21s. Those are for the Lakota. 24, those are 11s. So that ain't gonna work either. There's some more bear claws down there. I wonder if this was a full set of bear claws that I had pulled from a machine. I like to save the nice tires that we pull from these machines for my own personal stuff. And see, I like that right there. That looks like a 4x100 as well. That is a Polaris wheel. Oh, I think I pulled these from that old Polaris. So yeah, let's take, these are 25x812. So if we get these put on those other wheels, those black wheels that were sitting over there, and then get that one fixed, that would be a whole set of nice tires on it. Let's do it. Got tires, get some more gas. Put some more gas in it, put these tires up, try to take this thing for a spin. Tires are on and gas is in, and I tell you what, it looks better already with these black wheels on it. It still needs some TLC, but we're gonna take it for a spin and see if the transmission works. These are real bad about transmission issues. What? Why? Dang, did the starter die on me? Oh, man. You gotta be kidding me. No way. I guess that's the starter that was making all those noises. Glad I figured that out before I took everything apart. I guess we're gonna put a starter on it, wherever that is, before we get to take it for a spin. Fun stuff. That's what happens when you buy like super clapped out machines. Wonder if we can pull start it. Take it for a spin. What? There we go. Yeah, buddy. All right, there's still some kinks to work out. I guess we're gonna replace the starter because I'm not gonna sit here and pull it for an hour. I'm trying to remember where the starters are on these. I can already tell you, it's probably somewhere inconvenient. So, turns out the starter's bad. I thought I'd get lucky, and in that gigantic pile of starters I have sitting there, I have a starter for this thing, but I do not. So, we are going to have to pull this starter, which requires the clutches to come off. And then basically it's right behind all this and you can pull it from there. That also will allow me to replace that starter gear. So I guess it's a win-win. We can make sure we knock it all out. The only downside is the only starter I might have is this. If the starter is still on there, and I'm hoping it is. You can't see it. Oh yeah, it's right there. They said you could also get to it from the bottom, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know that I want to do that. Kind of sounds easier to pull the clutches. That's probably not easier if you don't have clutch pullers, but I have every puller in the book. Oh man, I just wanted to get this thing ready to ride again so we can get it out the door. Now, I don't know how well it will be to get from underneath, but instead of like climbing underneath this, I'm just gonna set it on the side. Yeah. This seems easier. You can get to it from down here. So the skid plate on this one has already been pulled, and oh man, this quad's janky. I want to pull this one first just because I want to make sure it's a good starter to begin with before I even pull that one, because if we're pulling that one and this one's going on, it's happening today. So it looks like we still have to pull the recoil cover. That shouldn't be too bad from that side. We can actually test this in here, come to think about it. I tell you what, I don't think that's gonna be any good. The whole connection right there is loose. That's a bummer. Really did not want to have to order anything else for this thing. I don't know if I can get it in by this week. If there is enough. It isn't even any good. I tried to just put 12 volts to it, using the starter as its own ground. This is the way we test all these starters on our used parts. And we're not even firing, so this starter isn't even any good. That's a problem. We're gonna have to order a starter because I do not have one of these. And hopefully get it in time. That's a little bit of a bummer. But I ordered the starter. It's coming from Amazon. Should be here Thursday. Today is Tuesday. So we're gonna roll this back over here and call it a day on this machine so I can work on some of the other ones. I was really hoping this was gonna be done today. Unfortunately, that's not gonna happen. One of the other big downsides is we're running the bill up fast. I was wanting to stay in this very, very cheap, and so far we're at $284. Now, if I was buying this for me to ride it around, being only at $284 is pretty good, but I think I'm probably at maybe 4 hours of labor on this and then about 2 hours of drive time. And you got to make sure it's profitable when you're sending it through. You're making enough money to be worth all that time that you're putting in. Now, if you're working at McDonald's, yeah, this is better than that by far, no matter what. But we're going to get that starter in and we're going to get it put on and hopefully not have anything else, because we're at, it was like $58 for the battery, $42 for the starter. I paid $100 for the quad, had about $30 in fuel going to getting it. I put about $8 in fuel just over the every time I keep putting gas in it. And I'm forgetting something. 45, getting all the tire fixed and these other ones swapped around. Now that would have been a huge bill if I had to buy tires. That's for damn sure. Back. We got us a fancy niche starter. This is probably one of the worst Polaris to change the starter on. I could be wrong though. This holds the Bendix in there. This is probably all of our problem. It could also be the Bendix that was making so much noise. I have so many Bendix for one of these that I'm just gonna go ahead and use a used one instead of buying a new one. I've got 30 of them, so we're gonna pop all these off. Hopefully we don't have to take apart too much. Pop that recoil off, and honestly, I'm not sure we need to pop that recoil off. So we're gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna try to do it from underneath. So this definitely does have to come off because the bolts that hold it on are holding it on from this side. See on the starter, 3 bolts hold it on, all from this side of the unit. Possibly some more over here. We will see further on down the line. Go ahead and pull this. Get this spent 12 gauge out of the way. You'd think all this stuff would fly off while I'm driving, but nope. Finally got all those bolts out. Had to take this cover off. This one on the bottom was a straight pain in the ass to get off. All of that looks good. And then, well, even the Bendix don't look that bad. Honestly, this quad's pretty decent shape for its year, especially. Like the flywheel's got some surface rust on it, but it's pretty much typical. Down there. Oh, they're the same. All right, now we get to climb back underneath it and slide everything out. I don't know how much you can see. It's 12. It is a 10. And we're out. There it is. I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, I'm glad that I ran across the. I've never replaced the starter on one of these, but I'm glad I ran across the part that said you could do this underneath the quad versus exactly the other way, like pulling all of that clutch. You have to pull the rear plastic. That's a whole lot of extra. But looking at this thing, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this Bendix. So we're gonna continue to use it. All those noises must have been from this starter. It doesn't smell bad. It doesn't want to rotate anymore either though. So, I don't know, maybe it's a relay bad too. This starter was definitely on its last leg. You could tell by that that god-awful sound it was making. We're ready to go in, and here's our new starter ready to go in. We're gonna climb up underneath here. We're gonna slide it in, and then get back up there and bolt it back together.
I don't think that's supposed to be all smooshed like that. So we're gonna move it to the side. All right, let's go back in the same way we came out. Hopefully everything's nice and lined up. I don't climb in and out of here. Start with the 2 easy bolts. Something's not lining up. There we go. All right, now we get these tight, get the cover back on, and we can test fire this thing. We should probably make sure we hook the power up too. Boom. We're on. So let's try. We're getting a little smoke. After I'm letting it warm up, so that smoke's starting to clear out now. Let me see if I can get these brakes to work at all. Because it's sketchy as hell riding it with no brakes, and I really need to open it up. Pop the lid off the front master, and it's full, and I thought this thing was seized. It is not, so honestly, I'm not sure that it's actually the master. What I'm gonna attempt to do, see if we can bleed these brakes at all and see if it'll make any difference. I have zero interest in dropping any more money into this thing. It's cheap. It's getting sold. I mean, like, in all honesty, I probably should have decided to fix this. These aren't very profitable machines. It's all out of that radiator. Little thing right there. All right, so let's give it a shot. Nope, nothing. So I did what I could. I tried to bleed these, and I made a huge mess. I was able to clear out the lines. The master works, but I mean, you got to put some force into it, and really the master just needs to be replaced. This quad is one of those quads that if you were buying it for yourself, it wouldn't have been a bad deal. For me, trying to turn a profit on it, the amount of time, effort, parts cost, and all that is just not worth it. I think we're like $250 or something in this. I'll look here in a minute. And I mean, to put all new brakes on it, that's another $60 if I use Chinese parts, OEM, that's a whole lot more. I mean, it's got nice tires, it starts, runs, rides, doesn't really stop. But, you know, somebody looking for a cheap quad, here it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna zip it back together. I'm gonna wash it up, and we're gonna just let it go like it is. Sometimes it's like this, and that's the only way to make sense of a deal like this. I probably should have parted this out to begin with, but I didn't. So, I mean, $100 quad, you don't really lose. I got more money in parts than I do in the quad.
There it is. Honestly, I'm not as happy with it as I was hoping for. It cleaned up all right, but if you look close, like these plastics, they're just in such bad shape. I mean, this seat's supposed to be red. See what I mean? Overall, we ended up with about $284 in this quad. It does run and ride. It stops a little better than I thought it would. You gotta really give it a handful. We've got, I paid $100 for it, which evidently is what it's worth. $45 getting tires mounted. I had all of the tires, so that's kind of a plus there. $59 for a battery from Walmart. Could have saved a few bucks getting it from Amazon, but I needed it that day. I think I've used about $8 in fuel, just putting it in there. Probably less than that, probably more, $4. $30 in fuel going and picking it up. There were 2 quads. I spent $60 in fuel that day, so I split that in half. That's how I'm figuring that out. And then $42 for the starter. It runs and rides though. So that's $284. We'll just call it $280. What do you think it'll be worth? I'm gonna guess the sale price is gonna be about $900. I'm hoping for more. I was hoping it would be a $1,500 quad, but it just isn't in its overall condition. And I don't want to spend more time and money in the auctions next week, so we're cutting it close anyways. Today is Thursday. The auction for this is next Thursday. And you have to get it dropped off ahead of time so that it's actually in the pictures and it goes through there. You know, like equipment facts and high bid, proxy bid. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and so you can see the end result video of what this ends up selling for. I'm gonna get everything together and drop it off tomorrow. A couple other things going with it. The Lakota, that video will be up before this one. That one is going to the same auction.